Can anybody out there tell me why Nintendo keeps ignoring these great franchises? Hey, what is up, you guys? This is Los from the Big Retro Show, and today I'm going to be talking about some games that Nintendo has slept on. Now, these are games that have not seen a release on the Nintendo Switch, and it's a crime, guys. It really, really is. Now, without further ado, let's talk about the very first one. Now, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was a smash hit for the Nintendo Entertainment System. It was a game that created the whole boxing genre for Nintendo and really kind of defined sports on the Nintendo too. Now, Mike Tyson was one of these characters that you just cannot forget. He was this powerful character in the game, and for good reason. I mean, he was just one of these hard-hitting ass boxers that you could never ever fuck with. Well, James Buster Douglas did, but that's a different story. But anyways, guys, the game was full of charm, and it was one of these games that drew in casual gamers and hardcore gamers alike. Now, I grew up playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and I thought it was one of the best games that Nintendo ever made. Now, somewhere down the line, though, Mike Tyson fell out of favor with Nintendo, and they replaced him with some dude named Mr. Dream. So on the Nintendo Entertainment System, there are two versions of Punch-Out. One is the Mike Tyson Punch-Out, and one of them is the Mr. Dream Punch-Out. Now, I have them both, but I can't bring myself to play the Punch-Out with Mr. Dream just because, you know, how are you going to replace Mike Tyson? Okay, you just can't do it. The next game in the Punch-Out series was Super Punch-Out on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, this was also a game that was full of charm. Now, I can't remember if it was Little Mac in this game or not. Maybe you guys can refresh my memory in the comments. But this game was one of these games that was memorable simply because of all of the great characters on there. Everyone from the guy with the dreadlocks, I forgot his name. You see the familiar faces like Bald Bull. You know, there's Gabby J, the very first guy, who was kind of like the Glass Joe of the bunch. And, you know, each of them had their strengths and weaknesses. And once you figured out the patterns, it wasn't too hard to beat. But you know, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Punch-Out was carried over on the Nintendo Wii. Now, this is a game that I'm not too familiar with, although I do know that it was very, very different than the first two games. We saw the return of Little Mac in this game, the bona fide Little Mac from the very first game, and the controls were motion controls. I guess Nintendo wanted to flex the muscles of the Wiimotes in this game, and it had you doing punches by motioning punches with your Wiimote. I thought it was really stupid, to be honest with you. I played this game for a little bit. I never owned it. I rented it on GameFly. Okay, I had a GameFly account back in the day, and this is one of the games that I rented just to try it out. But it didn't really connect with me as much as the first two games did. Anyhow, after the Wii, the game Punch-Out did not get any love on the Wii U or the Nintendo Switch, and I want to know why. Why, Nintendo? This is a game that's beloved among everyone who knows about Nintendo, and I think it's about time that you guys make a version of Punch-Out for the Nintendo Switch. Now, it doesn't have to be the same game that it always has been, but I mean, it would be nice if there was an upgrade there, right? I don't know, maybe you guys can partner with Mike Tyson and get his name into it. He was always a colorful character. Why not get him involved again? I think that it's about time. The second game I'm going to talk about is one that is also familiar to you guys who have been playing Nintendo ever since the 80s, and that is Metroid. Who doesn't remember Metroid and going down into the alien world and exploring everything, bombing stuff away, freezing things with your freeze frame, with your wave gun, and killing Metroids? I mean, this was the bona fide hit of the Nintendo, along with, you know, Legend of Zelda and Super Mario Brothers. but everybody loved Metroid. I remember playing this game for hours back in the day, searching every single nook and cranny of the game, bombing here, bombing there, you know, finding the energy tanks. This was all part of an average afternoon in my childhood. And this was one of the games that was made even more special when you found out that Samus was actually a girl. I mean, I remember, man, that blew our minds back in the day. And if you've never played Metroid for the Nintendo Entertainment System, then I highly recommend that you play it. I mean, this was the game that made that whole genre the Metroidvania, right? The exploration, not having access to certain parts of the game without having that right tool for the job. Metroid received an upgrade, a super upgrade, on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and that was Super Metroid. Even better of a game than Metroid. This was a huge improvement. Everything, the music, the sound, the graphics, it had that special Mode 7 graphics on there. And it was truly a treat to play. Again, you descend into the alien world and you try to hunt down all of the Metroids. You use different items that you find. You explore different places. Secrets galore, enemies galore. It was one of these games that is a must play for anybody who had a Super Nintendo system back in the day. Now, yes, we did see some follow-ups for, you know, Metroid on all of the handheld games, the 3DS and the DS and the Game Boy. But everything changed for the Metroid series when it hit the GameCube, okay? Because they made it from a 2D platform adventure game into a first-person shooter. And that irked a lot of people. But guess who didn't get irked by that? Who didn't? That's right, this guy right here. I actually liked the GameCube versions of the games. They were very different. The gameplay mechanics were still there though, you know? You were still exploring, you were still finding weapons, you were still killing enemies, you were still killing bosses. All right, this was a fun game, a very fun game. And I beat the very first one. I didn't get into Metroid Prime 2. I didn't, you know, mess with the other ones in the series. I have them, I just haven't gotten around to playing them. On the Nintendo Wii, Metroid got another upgrade. It was Metroid, I believe it was the Metroid, the Super M or the Metroid M. I forget the name of it. It was the Wii game. You guys know what it is. I don't have to tell you what it is. The Other M. That's what it was called. The Other M. And for some reason, this game didn't get a lot of love. I actually enjoy this game. I did play quite a bit of it. If I had to guess how many hours I put into it, I'd probably say about 5. I never beat the game. But The Other M was just kind of different in that it had combined the like isometric viewpoints and, you know, different 2D viewpoints. I mean, I thought it was pretty cool. I did. But apparently people didn't connect with it, and it was just one of these games that quote unquote is a hidden gem. And it is a fun game though. You guys really need to get into this game because it is a fun game. But after that, guys, we didn't see any new Metroid games, and it's probably because The Other M fucked it all up for everything. Yes, we did see Samus in, you know, as cameos in different games. We saw Samus in Smash Brothers, but, you know, I think it's about time that there came a new game in the series on the Nintendo Switch. And I know my friend RetroWolf88 was telling me that there is a Metroid in development for the Nintendo Switch. But you know what? I will believe it when I see it. And I think that it is sorely needed on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, how could you guys ignore this? How could you guys ignore Metroid, one of the best games ever, on the Nintendo Switch? You know, shame on you guys. The last game I'm going to talk about isn't very well known among, you know, people nowadays. It is Kid Icarus. Now, Kid Icarus was a fun game, guys. It was definitely one of these games that was on the Nintendo Entertainment System to begin with, but not a lot of people played this game for some reason. I enjoyed it. It was a Greek mythology based game. You took control of Kid Icarus, and if you know who that is in Greek mythology, You know, he builds these wings out of wax and flies too close to the sun and tumbles down and he dies. But not in this game. In this game, he is the hero, guys. And I remember playing this game for hours. And this was a punishing game. It wasn't one of these namby-pamby games that you find nowadays that holds your hands and all of that. But this game did give you the ability to save your game. I think it was a password that you put in, if I'm not mistaken. But that was one of the cool things about the game. And using that password, I was able to beat the game. Now, to the best of my knowledge, and I could be wrong here, the last time we saw a Kid Icarus game was on either the Nintendo 3DS or the DS. I don't know. You guys are going to have to correct me. And I have to admit, I know virtually nothing about this game. I hope it's a good game. I mean, it is a Kid Icarus game. So, you know, maybe it's good, maybe it's not. If you've played it, let me know in the comments. But how wonderful would it be for Nintendo to revisit this franchise and make it, with today's graphics and today's gameplay, into something, you know, modern? I want to see that. I want to see a new Kid Icarus game on the Nintendo Switch. These three games that I talked about are beloved games, at least to me. I love these games. And for some reason or the other, Nintendo has not given them any love in this current console generation. And I have to ask myself, why? Why, Nintendo? Why are you doing this to us? So, join me. Let me know in the comments. Do you want new games in these franchises? And if not, tell me what games you do want to see. What games did you grow up with? What intellectual properties are your favorites? And I know you guys love your Marios and your Zeldas and you love your Mario Kart and all of that stuff. But there is more to Nintendo than those, for lack of a better word, played out franchises. Because, man, they come out with a Mario game all the single time. Every single console generation gets Mario love. Every single console generation gets Zelda love. You know, every single console generation will have an Animal Crossing. Now, don't get me wrong. I know a lot of you guys play Animal Crossing. I don't. I'd rather see a Metroid. You know, I'd rather see a Punch-Out. You know, bring Mike Tyson back. Give him some forgiveness. You know, he was an awesome guy. It's time to forgive him and make a new Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you comment down below, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, make sure to leave a comment below, give me a thumbs down, and subscribe to the channel. Until the next one, guys, I will see you on the Big Retro Show. Peace!